I'm Pearl. Standing in front of the old house, I see my mother, red-faced and furious, holding her phone. Suitcases are piled on the porch, and 3 tired kids are drooping in the heat. My brother Ethan is pacing back and forth like a caged animal, and Mr. Harris, a family friend who has been influencing my mother, is trying the door handle as if it will magically open. Just a few days ago, I was sitting at the dinner table, looking at my mother, who was smiling that fake smile. She had prepared my favorite meal, a sign that something was amiss. After some forced small talk, she dropped the bombshell. Ethan is coming back with his 3 kids. They need stability, and you need to move out by the weekend. I thought she was joking at first. I let out a nervous laugh and asked, "You're joking, right?" But her cold laugh and the words, "No, I'm serious," shattered my world. She then called me a parasite, as if the past 3 years of my life dedicated to keeping this family and this house together had never happened. 3 years ago, I was living a simple but fulfilling life. I had a stable job as a marketing coordinator at a small firm, a cozy 1-bedroom apartment, and a growing savings account. I also had a dream of starting a financial consulting service for single moms. But then, my father passed away suddenly. One moment, we were arguing about my car maintenance. The next, I was standing beside his casket, watching my mother age 10 years in 10 days. After the funeral, the house started to fall apart. Bills were piling up, my mother stopped taking care of herself, and the mortgage was overdue. Ethan called a couple of times, said he was sorry, and then disappeared. I decided to step in. I gave up my lease, packed my things into storage, and moved back home, telling myself it would only be for a short while. From then on, my life revolved around the house. I woke up early to make sure my mother ate and took her medicine. I handled all the household bills, fixed plumbing issues in winter, and dealt with roof leaks in spring. At work, I turned down promotions that would have required long hours or travel because someone had to be there for my mother. I thought this was what family did. My mother and I grew closer, or so I thought. We watched movies together and shared take-out on lazy evenings. She would tell me how grateful she was, and I believed I was an important part of her life. But months ago, things started to change. Ethan, who had always been charming but irresponsible, began to call more often. My mother started smiling at her phone and taking private calls. Mr. Harris, a man from my mother's community group, started visiting more frequently. He was polite in public but smug in private, always making snide remarks about me getting my own place. I also noticed some strange things around the house. School enrollment forms appeared and disappeared. The garage was cleaned out for no reason. One Friday, 3 twin mattresses were delivered while I was at work. When I asked, my mother said it was for a community donation. Another time, I found my winter clothes packed up, and she said she was just helping me organize. My best friend, Lily, told me something was off. She said I was acting like someone who knew a storm was coming but kept pretending it was just wind. I laughed it off, not wanting to believe the worst. But deep down, I was starting to brace myself. The final straw was when my mother casually asked me to clear out my closet for guests. It felt like a punch in the gut. Even then, I still hoped it would all work out. I thought she would never truly humiliate me. But that dinner was the end. When she told me to move out, I reminded her of all I had done. I paid most of the bills, covered the furnace repair, and took care of the property taxes. But she just looked annoyed and said, "You act like helping your family bought you ownership." I was numb. I stood up, walked out, and drove until I couldn't see the house anymore. That night, when I went back to the house, I found evidence of their long-planned scheme. The joint bank account showed a withdrawal of $4,000 made by my mother a few days ago. I also found emails between her, Ethan, and Mr. Harris discussing my move and how to make it as smooth as possible for them. The next morning, I went to see Miss Green, a lawyer I knew from college. She told me that as an established resident, I had tenant rights. My mother couldn't just throw me out without proper notice. She also said my financial contributions gave me leverage. With her help, I found a new one-bedroom apartment. It was small, with old-fashioned floors and bad kitchen lighting, but it felt like a safe haven. I started packing my things in secret, making small trips to my new place after work. On Friday, when my mother left to pick up Ethan and the kids at the airport, I sprang into action. I called the locksmith I had booked earlier and removed my name from all the utility accounts I managed. By 11 o'clock, all the locks on the house were changed. I left a folder on the kitchen table with all the documents proving my financial contributions and a letter from Miss Green outlining my legal rights. When I drove back to the house later, I saw the chaos they were in. My mother demanded to know what I had done. Ethan was swearing, and the kids were looking confused. I calmly explained to them that I had secured my residence and that any attempt to force me out without following the legal process would be met with legal action. I handed my mother a new key, saying I didn't want to trap the kids outside, but the matter of my removal and reimbursement would be handled legally. Ethan accused me of extortion, but I told him it was just accounting. My mother looked at me with a mix of fear and recognition. She was finally realizing that I wasn't going to be the obedient daughter forever. 6 months later, my life has changed for the better. I accepted a promotion at work and officially launched my financial consulting service. Lily says I look 10 years younger. I sleep better, laugh more, and have learned to say no without hesitation. As for my family, Ethan is still struggling to be responsible. The house is filled with chaos, and my mother is dealing with the daily stress of raising 3 kids. Mr. Harris has lost interest now that he doesn't have someone else to do all the work. I saw my mother at a grocery store the other day. She looked tired, and she asked how I was. I told her the truth, I was doing well, growing, and building my own life. She said my father would have been proud of me. It was a bittersweet moment. It didn't undo the past, but it confirmed that I no longer needed her approval to heal. This experience has taught me many lessons. Loving your family is important, but it should never mean sacrificing your own future. Kind people need to protect themselves with paperwork and knowledge of their rights. And most importantly, your worth is not determined by how useful you are to others, but by your own character and the boundaries you set. Love should never require you to disappear.